Surprise! No Vincent Davis tonight. No message from him tonight. You got me. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here that you've joined me to fight CPS and stop taking our children. Yes, we need to have CPS not steal our children. Now, I have a lot of people that have come in tonight, which is great. Early on, I have DJ from Geneva, Wisconsin, and it's Lanny. So glad that you're here, DJ. Now, G-Day came in at 6:43. Okay. Hello, family. Hello, family yourself. I'm glad you can join me tonight. I want to send my love and continued support to every family who's been affected by CPS corruption. I know personally how difficult the time of year it is, and I want you to remind everyone that together we will. Much love to Faye for her kindness today and always. She's a true blessing in disguise. I feel like her angelic presence is a sign that I can make it in the right direction. Well, thank you, Lanny. That's so nice of you from Wisconsin. And though each day and night for me here, so I may not remain on for the whole show, but mad love to Bob, Grace, and Vincent, and hugs to my fellow warriors. From them, Lanny from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Okay, and then we got the rooms come in here. Well, I want to give a warm welcome. You found the right place. This is How to Fight CPS with Bob Pace, how to stop taking our children. And I'm glad you found me. You found me on Facebook, Fighting CPS. And you came here live. This is one of 8 rooms. I have 1 room on YouTube and 7 on Facebook, and they all come in here together. And every time I'm on here, I'm on twice a day. That's 7 days a week. I've not missed a day yet. I've been doing this for over a year. There's over 700 recorded shows of me talking about CPS. And it's hard to believe that. I've talked to over 600 people who have texted me or gone on the phone and talk about their case and how I may help them. I'm not a lawyer, but I have 15 years of fighting CPS, and I too was a victim of CPS, where my children were alienated and trafficked into foster care. Now, I know it's a difficult experience because no one is trained to know about CPS or how it works and how it doesn't work. And the children are just treated like pawns. They don't know what's going on. And they're turned upside down. This whole thing starts with allegations. Someone doesn't like how you're taking care of your children. There's 2 groups of those individuals. They're professionals. They're trained of how to report and how to recognize neglect or abuse. Then there's a lay person, your neighbor, your friend, your relative, the people that don't take care of children as a job. And now suddenly you found yourself, your home being invaded. You don't know what to do or what not to say. You don't know that you should not talk to social workers. My rule number 3 says we do not talk to social workers. We do not talk to the police. We need to get a hold of our attorney and let them do the talking. We don't allow them in our home. They need a warrant to get in our home. Also, we do not give up our children. They have to be in danger, and most of the time they're not. It is a ploy for them to put you in the system so they can make trillions of dollars off you. It's a money-making venture. And it's really sad where money now is the root of evil here with the child protection system. Now, what I call the child protection system It's a government agency that's a branch of social services. It's mandated by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse. Furthermore, if you're in need of food or shelter, or clothing, or transportation, or education for your children, for yourself, or medical, and lastly, they're supposed to help you find a job. All this is they're supposed to be doing. And lastly, if they need to take your child away because they're in imminent danger, they need to do what's called family reunification. That means where they try to have you take some parenting classes and try to get your kids back together with the parents, because it's been proven the best parents are the biological parents. The biological parents are the best parents. And so I want to welcome you all. DJ's been in here for a couple days from Wisconsin, and I'm so glad to have Lanny here. He may say he may have to leave shortly, but I'm glad that y'all are coming in here. Now, I want to put up some ways that you can interact with this podcast. One is just by being in this room. But you can also text me a message, either a comment or a question about your CPS case. Please show me your first name and the city or county you're from, and of course the state. Furthermore, I have roughly about 18 countries that have called in. You know, I've had Bangladesh, India, the Middle East, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, and New Zealand and Australia in the Pacific. And lately, South Africa, there's been 3 nice moms that have called in every night, every day about their case. And they want to call in too. They're trying to make a phone call so they can talk about their case. Now, I have 5 rules that can help you. 1, you need to get an attorney. 2, you need to organize your documents. 3, you do not talk to social workers. You don't let them in your home. You don't let them take your children. 4, you research the internet. 5, you gather all your important documents and put them in a folder. And I'll elaborate on those 5 things that will help you, because I didn't follow any of them myself. I did not follow any of them myself. Now, besides text and comment, you can also be a guest on my podcast. To be a guest, you're going to send an email to Grace, who's my show producer, at grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And put in there whether you want my morning show, my evening show, Monday through Sunday. You just pick one of those dates. Now, I come on typically at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time on the west coast of California. And then I come on again in the evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 10 p.m. on the East Coast. And so I come on those 2 times. Now, on certain days, I have different times. This has been a football year for me, high school football, Friday Night Lights. I've been having to go to football games on Friday nights. But the last game is this Saturday, where my son's school gets to go for another state championships on their way to be a national champion. And so next Saturday, I'll be coming on at 3 o'clock and some normal time at 7. And then sometimes Vincent has a show on Saturday, and it's at 9:30. I'm not sure if you will or not, but it'd be on 9:30. And then also on Sunday, I come in at 8 o'clock because I go to church on Sunday. And I think it's important to go to church. It's important to have a God that you believe in. He can help you through horrific times. But anyway, I love to have a guest. That's like 9 spots I can have as a guest. Now, the 4th thing you can do, interact with the podcast, is a call into 626-698-0990. My phone number is live. I use Vonage, and you can call in on that number. You can call in on that number. And I'd love to hear from you. Now I have some beautiful people that call in all the time, like Faye Manley from Richmond, Kentucky, or there's also Natalie from West Hollywood, California, and then there is um, KK Akima from Brooklyn, New York. So there's all these great people that help me with my show. Now, when you call in, make sure you call in during my show. I cannot talk to you before my show time or after my show time. Thank you, Cockin, for the heart. I love that. You can do emojis on here and send me stars. Also, check the box if you want to follow me. Now, there's lots of things we can talk about. I have topics, over 100 topics we can talk about. We can talk about your case. And keep in mind, if you're a guest on my podcast or you call in, you'll get a free 15-minute session with Mr. Davis. That is eligible for you to call in. And after you make your, as a guest or on my phone, and I'll give you a free 15-minute session, a Zoom private meeting with Mr. Davis. And you can talk to him about your case. And he has insights that can help you. He can help you navigate through CPS. You have to understand, CPS isn't what it's meant out to be. It's a very corrupt agency, and it's hurt so many children. Just 2 days ago, I found out from a loving mother who lost her 8th-month son who was stone dead in a pit ball pit. Now, what that is, that's a box full of those colorful balls and kids playing there. But he's only 8 months, so he can't even walk. Apparently, someone had killed him and put him in the pit ball to hide him. And he was at the hands of CPS. CPS wasn't watching what they're doing. This happened down in Macon, Georgia. And it's very tragic. It's very, very tragic because, I've only had 3 social workers on here that's talked about what they do. I encourage any social worker that's listening to please call in. Also, any police to please call in. I like to know how you handle the cases. I want to hear from all parties. I've had 3 that have talked to me on this show, and that was great. But I'd love to hear some more. Now, I just texted Faye to see if she'd like to come on the show, and I haven't heard from her yet. Let me see if Natalie's around because we haven't talked to her in a week or 2. So let's see if she's around. Okay. Nanny's not answering. Uh, we have Bella. Hello, Bella. Bella is BS. That's her handle. And welcome, Bella. She has a question. What makes a strong case? What makes a strong case for a lawsuit once it's closed? You can be added to the lawsuit. Anyone willing to take my case? Well, a strong case would be a social worker who's committed perjury, meaning that she's lied or he's lied while on the stand in front of court. I have a very strong case that I could have sued, but I didn't have the money to hire an attorney. That I had a social worker that committed perjury, big time. She lied on the stand. So that's one thing. One of the civil rights or one of your constitutional rights is violated. Those make strong cases, Bella. But welcome, Bella. Yeah, Bella, go ahead. Can you hear me okay? Bella, can you hear me okay? Good, good, good. Well, Bella's from Philadelphia, the east side of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I'm glad she's been in here almost my show every time now. She's becoming a regular in here. Her handle's BS, but her first name is Bella. And what other questions do you have for me, Bella, that I can help you out with? You can call in, Bella. My number is 626-598-0990. Now, the other number you see on the screen, 888-888-6582, is my office. You can call there to schedule to meet with Vincent Davis. He can be retained. My attorney is Vincent Davis, who has 35 years of fighting CPS and getting children back. He's also a trial lawyer. He has a dependency, family, juvenile background. What the law you're in is called dependency law. It's a law that the child protection system uses. And it's also got family law and juvenile law because that's what you're dealing with. Now, below my screen, if you don't want the 15 minutes for free to talk to Vincent Davis, by either being a guest on my podcast or calling in, you can schedule a 30-minute session. I have a special rate for $60 to talk to Mr. Davis. You can talk to Mr. Davis for $60 for 30 minutes. All you have to do is go to that website that's scrolling on the bottom of my screen. Go to that website and reserve your time and pay your $6. You can have 30 minutes of Zoom private time with Mr. Davis. And he will help you. He will help you. Now, we had DJ in, Lanny, who is from Wisconsin, Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And he's been coming here. And yes, this is kind of like a family place. You guys are my family, you know. I'm a family man. I'm a father of 8 children. And we had a family of 8. Now it's reduced down to a family of 4. And it's really, really hard because at Christmas, it looks like one of our family of 4 is going to be gone at Christmas. So we're trying to do a family of 3. Something fun for Christmas. It was hard at Thanksgiving because our family's been broken up because of child protection system. I lost my house because I had to sell it to get money to fight, to hire Vincent Davis. It's really been a really hard years. My case started in 2010 when I lost my job through no fault of my own. My career job after 45 years was over, and I had to go face it. I was 60 years old. I'm 75 now. It gets harder and harder as you get older to find work, but I'm determined to do so. I'm determined to find work. I'm going to see if this person will answer the call because I can't seem to text them.
Hello?
Yeah, hi, this is Bob Pace with my CPS podcast. And I know you've been trying to get a hold of me, and I left you numerous messages, but what's been happening is your messages, it won't go through. You must have some type of a block on your phone because I get these red messages. Messages cannot be delivered to recipient's carrier. And I've tried.
Wow, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You gave me a long story, and people are listening, and I think I want everybody to hear the story so that maybe, you know, your first name is what again?
My first name is Savannah Vitale.
Savannah. Okay. And
Vitale.
Yeah, Vitale. Where are you located, Savannah?
I'm in Ridgecrest, California.
Ridgecrest, California. This is what she says. The father of my child told me about you. I've been watching your videos with him, but I don't ever have much time trying to get court stuff done. I'm terrible with time. I had an important question. As far as if Attorney Vincent Davis can possibly help me or give me some advice with my briefing for my appeal. I'm having a difficult, extreme time getting it done. The 5th District Appellate Court have been kind enough to give me another time extension of a month because they only grant my request to file an oversized brief. At first, it was over 130 words. Then it dropped down to 88,000 words. And they finally gave me a word count not exceeding 28,000 words. I'm very concerned I won't be able to get my argument across if I attempt to shorten it anymore. I've redone my briefing numerous times. I can't count on both hands. I don't know how many times. My brain is just frustrated because I've been trying to write these appeals up from the beginning of my dependency case, pretty much from the start of my original appeals, which were all closed up into deposition, which wasn't until almost June 6, 2024. They removed my son on January 10th, 2024. I don't know if you guys can help me, but I have emailed Vincent Davis' office more towards the beginning or the middle. I believe of the dependence proceedings on an email. I no longer use or have access to, and they finally got back to me maybe a couple months ago. So they're stating that they had too large of a caseload and they took the cases very seriously, but that time could not take my case. I don't really need an attorney to represent me much, and the dependency proceedings are pretty much over at this point. They plan to adopt my son out by the next hearing in March of 2025. There's not much I can do through the trial courts, but I'm representing myself in my appeals for the majority of them at least. The last two, I believe, I haven't requested to relieve my attorneys yet if I do it, and I have the first 3 of my appeals consolidated together. However, since I waited until after my appellate attorney had turned his briefing in, they're only allowing me to file a supplement briefing for my first 2 cases that were consolidated, and then I have to do my opening briefing for my other appeal. I'm sorry, I understand if you won't be able to respond or can't get help. I'm just desperate at this point. I don't believe they will extend my due date for my briefing again, as they've done it several times. That is a really hard one that you got there.
Yeah.
One thing is, by you talking on the show, you qualify for a free 15-minute Zoom meeting with Mr. Davis.
Okay.
And that will give you a chance to talk to him at no cost. And you can tell him about
Okay.
your appeals. He knows all about appeals and so forth. I don't know what your appeals are. I don't understand why there's a crunch on the size of the appeals. Why is it have to be crunched so many times down?
So the problem was they had. So I think what you're asking is when I had first the proceedings had first started, I originally had tried to appeal the removal because I grew up around law enforcement, so I know a little bit about reading court paperwork and going through court stuff. Like I go to school for, I take classes based off of like law school and stuff like that. So
Yes.
I had read the appeals form that said that, you only have 60 days to appeal the removal or appeal the proceedings, and I was concerned because at my detention hearing, my attorney didn't allow me to contest the allegations or present any evidence because he said I had to wait until the next hearing at the jurisdictional hearing to do that. And so they didn't make my jurisdictional hearing for 2 months after, 2 months exactly, 61 days after my detention hearing, which would have made the removal, as I understood, and my detention hearing not appealable. So I had originally filed notice of appeals for my detention, within those 60 days for all of my appeals, which all ended up getting closed because they didn't have disposition, like finally, which made all the proceedings appealable until May 29th, which was, almost 6 months into the dependency proceedings. And these proceedings were almost a month apart, except for the 2 month time frame between the detention and the jurisdictional hearing. So when I had finally got to appeal it, that was all my proceedings in the last 6 months together. And then after that, we had ex parte proceedings that I had also appealed. And then the most recent one was a restraining order proceeding that they got put a restraining order on me for no reason. And something that has, because my mom is really, she's running the whole case. She started all this.
Are you having your mom call in?
She got a restraining order on me.
Right. Did your
and then
right.
I appealed that one, which are my two newest appeals. But the problem is when I consolidated my appeals together, I was trying to attempt to get the word count and the page limit, bigger, so that way I could file a whole briefing together. And it wasn't working like that. And then my first appeal, I was being represented, and my appellate attorney, when he had turned in his briefing, he didn't argue anything I wanted to argue. He never spoke to me. He told me that, like when he would respond to my messages, he said that he was reading them, but he never inputted, anything I wanted to say into the briefing he turned in. And so his briefing's argument pretty much, it was the way that he explained it, because he's talking for me in a sense. He was admitting things that I had not admitted to and things that I wasn't doing and saying, which is what most of my appeal is based off of, inaccurate documenting and stuff like that, the ineffective assistance of counsel, and just the way I've been treated throughout my whole case. And the investigation was the original reason why I wanted to appeal it, was how that investigation went down that led to them opening the dependency case. But nobody wanted to address it. So I had asked them to relieve my attorney so I could file my own briefing, and they wouldn't strike my attorney's briefing, but they gave me permission to do a supplemental briefing. And then as time went on and all my other appeals came into play, and I consolidated the other two, the two after that, every time they gave me an extension on that specific appeal. So I had more time to get the briefing done, but the last two times I've turned my briefing in, they've rejected it because of the word count. And then this last time, just the other day, they finally gave me a limit on how many words I could put in there. And it's just difficult because I wrote an appeal, like a briefing, almost for every single appeal that I've filed, because from the, the beginning of the dependency proceedings, because I was under the impression that when I filed my original notice of appeals, that I was going to be able to deal with the appellate court then, but they just ended up closing my appeals, and my briefings just kind of just cluttered and went to the back. And then by the time I could do it, I thought I put my benefit of the doubt in my attorney that he would actually like put my, my concerns were in there, and then he didn't. And then I had to function all over again to redo the whole briefing. And it's just I've had a lot of extensions done in order to get it done, but maybe it's just the way I'm explaining it in the briefing is too much, but I just can't seem to get my point across very well. And I went through my briefing yesterday, and I had actually so the way that I structured it was like I had the argument, or I had the explanation of what was being said in the report, and then I had the argument underneath it so I could just help organize my head. And then I went and I cut out all the parts where I had explained everything and went through the stuff through the report, and I took all that out, and then I just left all the arguments together, and it's within the page limit now, but I'm concerned that it's not really explaining it the way that it should be explained, because it's not getting, it's I feel like it just needs to be explained a whole different way. That's all. Maybe my brain's just overthinking it. I don't know.
Well, that's okay.
But I've been.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
No, you're doing fine.
Yeah, there's been a lot. I've gone through. I've had two Marsden hearings in my dependency proceedings. And I've gone through multiple attorneys. A couple of them conflicted out. The last Marsden hearing I had actually was brought forth from my attorney, who claimed that it was me, but he tried to conflict out and tried to say that I wanted to relieve him. And when I stated it wasn't me, he just pretty much made all these excuses to why, we couldn't communicate and stuff like that. But this whole court has painted me in a way that it's almost, it's unbelievable to me. I mean, it's only believable to the extent that they're listening to my mother, and they've allowed my mother to partake in all the proceedings, and she's become this huge influence, and my mother is the sole reason for why all this is even happening, because she sought to take my child my whole pregnancy, for her own personal benefit. And it's so sad because they limited my rights, my medical rights to my son at a hearing in between the detention hearing and the jurisdictional hearing. And it was a hearing that my first attorney had admitted he neglected not informing me about. He didn't tell me about it. So I had no idea about this hearing where they limited my parental rights or my medical rights and gave them to my mother, because my mother made up a bunch of lies and stuff about what was occurring at medical appointments. And I didn't get to say anything. I didn't even know what happened. I didn't know what was said up until my appeals, and I got the transcripts. And so my son when they initially took my son was advanced in his health. He's never been in any kind of harm. There's nothing wrong with him. And he's so below developmental delay now. And they don't seem to want to see that the placement or whatever wherever they're putting him, which is with my mother, is clearly not, it's not affecting him correctly. I know it's my mother because my mother has done this unnecessary medical stuff to me. My sister tried to do it to my older brother, and so this is not a new thing that she's done, and I'm having to watch her do it to my son, as my son's not eating anymore. He won't sleep. He's misbehaving. And mind you, when they took my son was 3 months old.
Well, okay.
My son was 3 months.
You had that's too young, but you had a child. Where's the father of the child?
The father of the child was not in his life because we didn't talk, and we didn't really, I went through my pregnancy by myself. I split up with him, and we just never spoke.
How old
But
were you when you
I
got
was,
pregnant? How old were you when you got pregnant?
I was 22, I believe.
Okay.
Turned 20,
Okay.
22, 21.
And the father didn't want to help at all with you trying to take on this child.
Well, no. What it was I had gotten when I had gotten pregnant, I had left the father of my child and had gone back to an ex-boyfriend of mine, and I had thought that the ex-boyfriend of mine was the father by the time I found out I was pregnant.
Oh,
Once
okay.
the actual father actually when they did the paternity test and found out that my ex wasn't the father, and Anthony is his name. Anthony is the one who's the dad, and they got a hold of Anthony and did the paternity test, and he came back the father, but he's not on the birth certificate, and they ruled him as a biological parent, but they just keep calling him a presumed parent, saying that he's never claimed it wouldn't suit in the child's best interest to even give him reunification services.
Mm-hmm.
And they won't even give him services. That was at our last court hearing that we just had.
Well, he should be financially help you out there because it's hard to raise a child by yourself.
It's been a whole lot, and so since they won't let Anthony do services, so when this whole thing started, I had originally told my original attorney that I had that I wanted to appeal the decision, because at the time I didn't look at too much into dependency law. I was looking, but I hadn't looked enough. And so I would tell him, I wanted an appeal. I wanted to appeal it, or I wanted a rehearing of the detention hearing. Since the problem with the detention hearing is I didn't go into court that day. I left court that day early because I had studied up on the laws and me being able to contest and show evidence. And I brought evidence with me to support, the things being said wasn't true. And when he told me that I wasn't allowed to do it until the jurisdictional hearing, I was conflicted, and I was upset because they weren't trying to listen to me, trying to say that I was just blaming my mother and so just and not taking responsibility for my actions. But it's like I've taken full responsibility for my actions, but to the extent, like, my mom's the one who called CPS. My mom's the one who planned and called CPS my whole pregnancy. My mom's best friends with almost every lawyer in town because she's the only paralegal in town. She's worked for all the lawyers. She knows all the social workers because she's worked with them, and they all like her. And that's really what ended up being my downfall. But at the detention hearing, since I left early, my attorney, I guess I didn't even know that until I seen my transcripts, that he waived advisal of my rights and just put in a protection denial is what he had said. And they decided to keep my son detained. And I'm upset because the reason why they took my son is because of my mental health and me being bipolar and accusations of not taking my medication from my mom, which I was never allowed to cross-examine or question or anything. And then my past, so I have past substance abuse issues, but that was something that I gave up when I got pregnant with my son. I had no problem doing it. It wasn't an issue, and I never went back.
Right.
My mother, after I had my son, before I had my son, I had postpartum depression from my mother taking my puppies and doing things that were very detrimental to my mental state.
Did you think about moving out at 8?
Have very, very bad postpartum, because I tried not to react to it because I knew that she was just doing it intentionally to.
Did you think about moving out?
Me and hurt me, so that way she could later use it to her advantage. And
right.
My postpartum, after I had my son, she took advantage of. All she had to do was ask for him. So after time, so it came 3 months, and in December, she had manipulated me. She first asked me if she could take my son to Kentucky for 2 weeks, and then asked if her and her husband could take my son for 2 months. And I responded and was like, "You're crazy! Like, why would I let you take my? What would be the purpose for that? I was fine. There was nothing wrong with me."
Well, he's a young child. He shouldn't be running off.
Mind you, I have been suicidal.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that they've, cited throughout the briefings or throughout their reports, because I did commit suicide on June 25th of 2020. But that was 5 years. This was going on 5 years ago.
Well, there must be something, for instance.
I haven't done anything since that.
Savannah?
And since getting pregnant with my son.
Right. Can you stop for a second, Savannah? Yeah, Savannah.
Life, because I have a whole other human being to think about it.
Right. Savannah, can you stop for a second?
So I really for my child. My mom ended up manipulating me, bribing me actually, because I blocked her. I couldn't stand it anymore.
Savannah, can you stop for a second? Savannah?
Let her take him for a couple hours.
Savannah, can you stop for a second?
And she ended up keeping him for the next week and a half.
Savannah?
And I spent the whole week and a half.
Savannah, do you hear me?
To give him back to me. And I had ended up in that time, in the week and a half, relapsing. And I relapsed, and then the next day, the police got a hold of me, finally, because I had been calling and, asking questions and stuff like that, but I didn't want it to get out of hand, I just thought my mom would blow over and my mom would just give him back. And so when the police called me, they actually took me, it was on December 11th, they had came and checked my house because my mom told the sheriff that, because she lives out in county, she told the sheriff that my house was unsuitable and he couldn't live here and it was nasty and filthy and that I was mentally unstable and stuff like that. So the sheriff and the local police had came here, checked my house, did a 5150 evaluation on me, and specifically stated that I did not meet the criteria for 5150 hold, in that they determined that I wasn't a danger to myself. And my child ended up actually getting returned to me later that night because the sheriff they deemed my home suitable, so they gave me my kid back. And then the following day, my son's like puking, and I'm trying to get information from my mom because I thought my mom had taken him to the ER, and she tried to blame me getting him back on the fact why, she couldn't take him, even though she had him a week and a half, and he was like that, and that's mainly why she wouldn't give him back originally.
Right. Savannah, can you stop for a second? Can you hear me, Savannah?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to get something in there. I had some questions to ask you. Also, I wanted to recognize some of the new people that come into the room. We have Larato Tahabalala, who is from South Africa. She had lost her son in a lake, and they don't know if an alligator got her son or not. And she's not getting much help out there. She lives in Africa, and I guess alligators are in the lake, and they may have eaten her son. But she had called in about getting some help there. Bella, who is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, has been in the show for the last couple of days, and she said she's so sorry to hear what you're going through. She wanted to tell you that.
Thank you.
There's people in this room that want to. Bella also says courts use medical records, medical evils against you, so they are corrupt. They tried that with me, and I told them to take a hike and just show me just for that moment. Well, they refused to accept yours of documents. Now, she says that showed my advocating. Yeah, I understand, Bella. She goes by the handle of BS on here. But I call her Bella because that's the name she gave me. And she was the east side of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
They definitely have characterized my mental health as the biggest problem in this situation.
Well, they do that all the time. They try to find that parents have mental health problems. And they do that. They do that.
My mental health, they've actually taken my psychiatrist notes and mischaracterized them and totally explained them, took my psychiatrist's notes and took them out of context, documenting them in the report, and then documented in the jurisdictional report the actual documents that they got of my mental health assessment records of those things, and it just what they put in the report as summaries of those pages don't have anything to do or match up with almost anything they're trying to say that was actually said during those mental health visits to paint me in a negative way. And at the jurisdiction and disposition, those are the only things, or not disposition, jurisdiction, detention. Those were the only things that the judge had cited for keeping my child detained, because the judge actually said for me to suffer from an illness, which is just in fact an illness, that my child cannot be sick. My child is in danger in my custody, which is why they had to remove him, which is why they had to keep him detained, because they stated just me having, being bipolar and having mental health issues apparently just automatically meant my child was not safe with me. And they even said that so any trauma my child gets from the removal outweighs the need to protect them simply because I'm bipolar. That's what she said the detention hearing. And at the jurisdictional hearing, she took jurisdiction because there was evidence in the report that stated I was not taking my psychiatric medication, and my behaviors and comments and things that I was saying matched up with a person who doesn't take her psychiatric medication, even though the reports don't ever talk to me, and there's nothing in the report that is me being negative. She's reflecting what she's getting from my mother, that my mother is telling her I'm doing. And so she claims that that's what matches up with me not taking my medication. And I got on the stand at that hearing, and, I was only allowed to talk about whatever was being questioned about at the time. And I said that I was taking my medication consistently, and she still took jurisdiction, didn't cross-examine anybody. So there was only 2 people in the detention report that even said that, which is my mom and my brother. And my mom was present for that hearing, so I don't understand why they couldn't let me cross-examine her.
Bella's got something to add to help you a little bit. She said, this is what she said. She's listening to what you're saying. The courts quickly closed my case when I learned my therapist sat on the county board that investigated CPS abuse. I always send emails and keep my records. It's important to keep your documents. So that's what she was sitting there saying there.
Oh yeah. You
now,
can see my living room.
My
living room is full of
now, when you when you were a young child growing up, how was your mother towards you?
Oh, abusive. I walked out of my mother's house when I was 16 to live with my dad because of the way that she was. And there's actually there's records, when they ran my records, they didn't find anything as me as the perpetrator, but they found, referrals for emotional abuse.
Why did you move in? Why did you move in back with her then?
I never moved in back with her after that. I never moved in back.
Well, you say you were 20 some years old when you had your first child.
Right. So I stopped talking to her because of things that she was doing and saying, towards the middle of my pregnancy. But the issue was me and my mom got the home that I live in together. We co-signed on it, and I needed the original paperwork because I was dealing with some stuff with my management and the landlord literally trying to forge the documents, trying to say that it was the original documents, and I hadn't recalled those being the original documents. So I had to unblock my mother, get a hold of my mother to get the paperwork, and that's pretty much what led to me starting to communicate with her again, because that's my mom. I mean, I love my mom no matter what she does to me. She's hurt me all my life, so it's nothing I'm not used to, but she took advantage of me not having anybody throughout my pregnancy and me being in a vulnerable state. My first pregnancy, I know nothing about being a mom, and I love my mom. I'll take any chance to be on good terms with her, but she just took advantage of that and pretty much manipulated me into thinking she was just being there to help me, and that's what led to her being so involved, because she was always there. I lived by myself, but she was just always there. She called and checked, the first time in my life, checked up on me every day. And, that's just how it was all the way up until she took my son.
Okay.
And then she stopped. All communication stopped after that, and she told me that there was no reason for her to be talking to me because she was busy taking care of a child.
Right. It's almost 8:00, and that's my show. I have to end it, but I don't want you the fret because I want you to call back in. Also, I want you to have this free 15 minutes with Mr. Davis. I want you to have all you need to do is, I'm sorry, what? I know it does. All you need to do is text me your full name, your phone number, and your email.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Hold on.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm sorry, my screensaver, my phone kicks in and you no longer hear me.
No, you're fine.
Okay. I want you to text into me at 626
Okay.
698
Oh, it's fine.
0990. Now that's my office number. I want you to spell your full name, your phone number, and your email. Because I'm going to give it to my show producer who will um, contact Mr. Davis and arrange a 15-minute private consultation on Zoom with one of the best defense attorneys in the country. And so that's how you'll be able to talk to Mr. Davis. And so all you need to do is text that in, and also encourage you to come to my morning show at 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. That's Pacific time, or 7 o'clock at night. I'm on twice a day, so I'm not going to disappear on you.
Yeah, I know. I planned to come on your shows today, but I get so sidetracked because I have to get the briefings done, but then I have to keep myself, busy because, everything going on.
Right.
I'm not able to just sit down and think about that.
Right. Bella, I know Bella just said good night. Good night, Bella. Thank you for showing up on my show and for your words, kind words to Savannah here. And Bella is from Philadelphia, and thank you, Bella. Also, I had DJ Lanny from Geneva, Wisconsin, who had to leave, but he was on earlier. And I want to thank you all for being a part of the family here on my podcast. Also, there's a third person from South Africa. It's Larato Tabala, and I don't know if she's found her son who's lost in the lake in Africa, but I want you all, you can call in again because I'll be on again. So I don't know why I can no longer text you, but it says the message was not able to do it. Something to do with your carrier. You may ask your carrier if they have a block or something there. But
okay, what was the first three? What was your zip code? I put my zip code on accident.
No, not the zip code. The phone number 626.
Yeah. 626.
698.
Oh, not the zip code. I'm sorry.
The area code is 626. The prefix is 698. And the last four digits is 0990.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we had this talk, Savannah, because I do try to get a hold of my people. So
yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, and I just had Savannah. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay. I just got your name. I got your phone number, and I got your email. Boy, that's a long email. Okay.
Yeah, it's the day I lost my daughter.
Right, understood. Well, God bless you. Thank you for being a part of my show. Keep trying. Don't give up. I'm always here. And to all my listeners, thank you all for calling in. And this is Bob signing off. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.